Okay, got me a set of Grover Stay Tight tuning pegs, and got them on here, or two of them. Had to use longer screws. The peg head is just a little bit thicker due to the beveled angle for the max thickness on these pegs. So I got a couple little longer screws, and that worked fine here, but as this gets thicker, those two just don't meet up properly. So since this is already drilled out, I'm not too worried about it. What I'm going to do is countersink a little bigger hole so that it'll recess these pegs into the back just a hair, and I think that'll take care of the fitment there. So my next step, now that I got those, is to straighten this neck. So we're going to take and first I'm going to straighten this heel up. Someone, it looks like, has hacked and whittled on this to where it's just really uneven, lopsided and chiseled on. So I'm going to try to smooth this heel off nicely. That'll give me a good flat surface to clamp this down, and it'll also make that look better. And then I can set up a jig to straighten this, so I'll show you that. Alright, well, I got this sanded down, and I had to go into actually where the dowel stick goes into the neck, but it's still nice and tight. It's really, really tight in there, so I'm not worried about it too much. What I'm going to end up doing, instead of trying to restain this, I'm going to fill this gap at the top end, just sand this real nice, and just paint this heel black. So I think that's going to look a lot better than that old carved up heel. So that'll be nice and smooth and black. And I started straightening this off a little more. I'm going to work on that just a little bit more to straighten the neck here where it's going to meet the can just a hair. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do the clamping and try to straighten this first, because if I can't get this straight, then I'm not going to waste too much more time on it. But progress so far. Okay, well, here's what I came up with. Built this little jig. Basically just a piece of a 2x8. Put a couple of feet on it so that I can clamp it without hitting the table. And put a piece of board over it with some foam in between it. And up here I put this neck's got a little bit of a bow in it, so I went ahead and put just a block under the worst part of the bow. And again, some foam padding. And then I saw another guy do this online and thought it was, I liked the idea. Drilled a hole on each side through the board. Used an old string. Stapled it underneath. And ran the strings up to these tuners, and that's what I'm using. You can tighten one or the other to adjust the twist, which I thought was a great idea. So did that. I actually had to put a little block under one side of the head to get it to twist enough without just pulling down. So shim this side, put most of my tension on this side, and I've got it to where I used a straight edge and got just a little bit of a back bow in it now, actually, which will be good. And then, well, hopefully when I take this off, then it'll be level, putting a little bit more on it. Same with the twist. I tried to overcorrect, compensate just a hair so that when you take the clamps off, should be straight. So anyway, pretty much ready to go here. Like I've seen the other guys do, I'm going to put a metal straight edge on here to help distribute the heat. And then I've got an iron. We're going to sit up here and heat this thing for a couple hours. I don't have any way to measure the temperature, so I'm just going to figure as long as it's not smoking, it's good. I'll keep a close eye on it. And heat it for a couple hours, and then let it cool for probably a day or two. Just set. And then we'll see what we got. Okay, I left that iron on there for 3 or 4 hours, actually, while I was working here. And just took it off. It's cooled down, so I thought it's going to be a day or two before I take this clamp off. I'm going to let it sit, so I thought I would thought it'd be a good time while it's secured here to go ahead and work on the fretboard. Went ahead, I've started on this first fret and I sanded it. There's a few little gouges where they must have pried out the old nut that I'm not going to be able to sand all that out on this first fret. But I just went over the surface enough to get any oils off for the stain to soak in good. Not trying to, it's already been leveled, it looks like. So I'm just trying to get the surface contaminants off. So I got me some ebony stain here, and I'm going to tape up the sides so that I don't get any down on the neck, and just do this fretboard. So I'll show you what it looks like here. Okay, staining this fretboard ebony, and I started here. It was a real light color. Lighter than that under there, you can see that. So I'm staining it ebony. Still doesn't match the headpiece exactly, the peg head. But I was looking at some examples of some online, and that doesn't necessarily, a lot of times they don't match exactly, especially after they start getting some wear and all. So staining the lower half, I just taped it off on both sides, applying the stain. I'm going to let it sit about 5 minutes and wipe it off. And then shouldn't take too long to actually start showing some fret wear if I play this much. And then I may actually kind of artificially add a little bit just to kind of give it a distressed look, since I'm kind of going for the dirty 30s or Depression era kind of look with that old can and the period of this neck. So I'll show you how this turns out. And I've got another idea for the heel that I'm going to try. I'll show you here in the next clip. Alright, finally getting back to my canjo project here. And it's been a couple of weeks since I've been able to work on this. I've just been so busy at work, so this has been in this jig way longer than it needs to be. So I don't know how good of a test this is, but if you're wanting to just do it, you know, in a couple hours. But it's been in this jig for a long time. So anyway, while I've still got it clamped in this jig, I went ahead and stained the fretboard ebony. It didn't take on the stain too good. I even tried sanding it down, but it is considerably darker than the rest of the neck now. So I'll see how I like that. If it's not dark enough, I may just paint it flat black like the original paint up here on the peg head. I'll just see how the look of it is when I get it done. Easy enough to do, just pull some strings off and do that later. But anyway, while I've got it in the jig, I'm going to go ahead and do the nut and the fifth string nut, and then we'll take it out of the jig. So here's a piece of ebony I'm going to make those nuts out of. You can see the notch out of it where I made the neck for that lion, or the nut for that lion and Healy, which came out fantastic, I think. So we're just going to do it again here and see how it comes out. So I'll show you how it goes.